Enjoying all that Toxic Radio has to offer? Well, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be the first to find out about ticket giveaways, amazing guests, awesome contests, and Toxic Radio events. Just search Toxic Radio Live, all one word, and press that little button. Every time you do, someone here at Toxic Radio will get their wings. Yay! Well, not really.
Aww.
But we will get a warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies. But then again, that just might be the beer. Anyway, like and follow us, and we will see you out there on the interwebs.
Hey, you. I don't mean to judge, but you don't have enough stuff.
Way to rub it in, jerk.
Know where you can get stuff? We got stuff. Lots of stuff. Get the stuff you need at toxicradio.net or through the free app.
A caveman could do it.
T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, all featuring your favorite Toxic Radio shows.
Okay, literal goosebumps.
So get off your ass and get your stuff.
I don't think that kind of language is appropriate.
And get some stuff for the people in your life too, you selfish bitch.
You got yourself a deal.
The Toxic Shop. Don't buy it safe. Buy it Toxic. All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
You're calling this guy. It's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire to Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire to Wire, live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Welcome to Wire Sports Podcast. I am your host, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. And to my right, I got the man, the myth, the legend, the uncle, Shally.
What's going on?
Coming to us remote from Columbus, Ohio. I won't screw it up again. Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cuttrell.
Come on, guys.
What's happening? We got a big show to get into. We got to obviously recap the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that for a little bit. You know, great Super Bowl in my eyes. I thought it was a very good game. I've seen a lot of comments about the officiating, which I would love to talk about on this show because I think it's counterproductive. But we'll get into that. We got the Ben Simmons, James Harden trade, UFC recap. We're going to dip a little bit into March Madness, talk about college basketball. That's going to be a staple of the show for the next, I guess, 2 months at this point. But we got a lot to get into, and I want to talk about the Super Bowl first, obviously. That's the biggest game, what your thoughts are in the game, what your thoughts were on the officiating, because that keeps getting brought up. Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Ramsey. A lot of things to talk about. Aaron Donald was dominating, and I think that the first half, I'll never forget it. At the end of the first half, they put up a stat, and they said one pressure for Von Miller and Aaron Donald in the entire first half. And then the third quarter, they had 7 sacks. Not just Von Miller and Aaron Donald, but the Rams team. Joe Burrow was being sacked at an alarming rate this postseason, this year. You know, the Bengals have the second most cap space in the NFL this year. If I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I use every luxury I have to build that offensive line to protect that kid in that pocket. Joe Burrow is Joe Cool, and, you know, we'll get a lot into Joe Burrow in the game. But what's your first reactions on the game, Shally? What was your reactions on the Super Bowl? And then we'll get into the official.
I like you. I agree. I think it was a good football game. I think a lot of people were expecting a higher scoring game, maybe more fireworks. We all predicted, I think, within 3 points of each other what the final score was going to be. We all expected that type of game. I thought it was a well-played game. I think that at the end, the superstars showed up. Like you said, Aaron Donald, those last 2 or 3 drives in the fourth quarter, he just took over. Like, he was unblockable. that's what all-time greats do. They make big plays when they matter. I think it was a well-coached game on both sides until the very end. I know you said we're going to get to the refereeing in a second. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I mean, I loved watching Joe play. I'm happy for Matt Stafford. Bummed for OBJ. I mean, he just, for the crazy year he had to get off to the start he had in that game and then tear his ACL, that early in the game, that kind of sucked. That took a little bit of the shine away from the game. But, I mean, overall, I think if obviously if you're a fan of either team, you're happy. You're probably a little bummed if you're a Bengals fan you lost, but they played well. Nobody had them there this year. To your point, they have everybody back. Every penny they have free, they need to invest in the offensive line. It was funny you brought up the stuff with Burrow, because the last couple of days, all I keep seeing is Andrew Luck and Joe Burrow memes everywhere. Like, they're like, it's going to be Joe Burrow in 4 years. And they're not wrong. I mean, he got hurt in that game. Thankfully, he avoided serious injury. He just needs rest on his knee sprain, no surgery. They got to keep him upright. They got to keep him protected. The kid is absolutely proven without a shadow of a doubt he's a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the league right now. That team has all the talent in the world to go back. He has to be protected. But overall, again, I agree with you. I saw a lot of people bitching about the game, and I thought it was a very good football game. I enjoyed watching it, and we had suspense at the end. I thought we might get a Money Mac walk off to overtime, but it didn't work out that way. But I was waiting for it.
2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. I mean, I'll get into that in a minute. And you said something I really want to talk about with the Odell Beckham Jr., but I kind of want to get Cottrell's thoughts on the game first, too. Cottrell, your thoughts on the overall game, and then we'll kind of break it down a little bit more.
Of course. So I definitely thought it was a good game. There was a time, I thought there was 3 things in that game that changed the whole course of the game. First being the obvious one, Odell tearing his ACL early on in the first half there. I think that really limited the Rams offense, and they had to go into halftime figuring out, like, hey, we still have Cooper Kupp, number 1 option, and Jefferson being our number 2. We need to have guys step up, and we need to figure out how we're going to move the ball effectively with this Bengals team. It took a while to figure that out, but then they just gave the ball to Cooper Kupp, and in Cooper Kupp we trust. So, I think that was the first big turning point in the game. Second one, I think it was the Bengals getting in Aaron Donald's face after he pushed Joe Burrow out of bounds. Gene, you talked about it in that 3rd quarter there. They had 7 sacks, and all 7 of those sacks came after they got in Aaron Donald's face, pushed his face mask, all that, after that hit on Joe Burrow. So I think I don't know why, but I think that's what really got that defense going. That's what got Aaron Donald going. Big mistake for the Cincinnati offensive line there. And then the third thing was the call that I'm sure we're going to get into more as we go on here with the show, but that's Logan Wilson's PI call on Cooper Kupp. I'm not saying that changed the whole course of the game. I'm not saying that I think the Bengals win the game if they don't call that, but how the game was going all game long, outside of the whole mishap with T. Higgins, I think that they were letting those players play. And so I didn't think that was a pass interference call. I just think it's a huge call because you go from what would have been 4th and goal at like the 8-yard line as opposed to, 1st and goal at the 1, or at the 3. So I think those were the 3 biggest plays in that game.
Okay, so a lot you said, and I really wanted to get into the 2 things that you said as far as the calls and Odell Beckham Jr. It was very obvious what the Cincinnati Bengals defensive game plan was. It was double Cooper Kupp and try to man up Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. was making them pay for that. He had a great first half so far, scored the opening touchdown. He had over 50 yards in a quarter and a half, and then he tore his ACL. That is the biggest turning point in the game for the Bengals, was when Odell tore his ACL, because they could not guard him one-on-one, so they were eventually going to have to not keep doubling Cooper Kupp. They were doubling him the entire game. So Matt Stafford was looking for Odell, and he was doing really well with it. So that turning point, I 100% agree with. The second thing you said, the Aaron Donald on the sideline, at the Super Bowl party I was at, I said it to everyone there. I'm like, I cannot believe that this Bengals team is dumb enough to push him and to really poke the bear with Aaron Donald and kind of like push his face mask off, throw a swipe at him, because it was like that moment was like, oh yeah, you want to punch me in the face? Every play I felt like they got beat after that. Like every play I felt like they were just getting brutalized by Aaron Donald after that. It was like you awoke a sleeping giant. Now the third thing, and you want to talk about the penalty, and we're getting to officiate in a second, but the fact that Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, they were dead for like the third quarter and almost the whole fourth quarter. And then they were like, I don't care how many people you put on Cooper Kupp. We are throwing him the damn ball. And that kid caught everything near him. He was getting space. They were sending him in motion. He was catching the ball everywhere, and they drove down the field the entire game, including the 4th and 1 call, which was ballsy, the jet sweep to where Cooper Kupp was caught on the inside. He couldn't cut it right away, and then he couldn't cut outside because the defensive end had contained. So he basically passed the first level of defense and then cut in as the tackle was pushing the defensive end to the outside. Now, let's get into the officiating. It's funny. I hear a lot of people talking about the officials in this game. My response to it is this. For as bad of a call that PI was against Cooper Kupp on 3rd and goal, and I agree it was a bad call. It was a very ticky-tack call. Legal contact in the regular season would have been like, maybe in the second quarter, and you'd have been like, in the fourth quarter of Super Bowl, I said, you can't make that call. We all agree. We all texted about that. But looking at the game as a whole, I seen 4 not egregious, but 4 basically blown calls throughout the game. The biggest was the T. Higgins play. T. Higgins grabbing the face mask of Jalen Ramsey and throwing him down to start the second half for that 70-yard touchdown, to me was Joe Burrow played decent, and I feel like he could have played better with an offensive line. But the 2 biggest throws he made was Jamar Chase making a ridiculous catch and then a T. Higgins offensive PI. So if you want to claim that I could look at it as a makeup call. Now, the call that I wanted to get into now, not a lot of people are talking about, is on the 4th and 1 call. The 4th and 1 when Aaron Donald that got after Joe Burrow, he was off sides. His helmet was over the line.
Exactly what call you're talking about. That was a play that actually happened earlier on in the second quarter.
They said the 4th and 1 call.
Yeah, but that I know exactly what play you're talking about, but that still shot that you probably saw was from earlier in the game. They broke down the way that the shield was going and the way the Bengals were going towards the end zone. It wasn't from that drive at the end of the game.
Oh, so people are putting that out there
exactly.
Okay,
Correct.
that's fair.
Yep.
But
exactly what you're talking about.
But I feel like there was missed calls, and not many because they let him play, but on both sides of the football. And I really think even one on the Cooper Kupp touchdown, where he got basically blown up in the end zone, helmet to helmet. I feel like that he was held on almost every play on that drive. The one they called probably wasn't the hold, but he was tackled on one of the plays and they didn't call it. I felt like there were blown calls on both sides, and I don't think it was the determining factor in who the better team was. If Odell Beckham Jr. plays the whole game, I think that the Rams might have blown them out. I really believe that.
I'm with you on the whole officiating thing, because at the end of the day, while I do agree that the Logan Wilson, penalty, I don't think that was a penalty. I don't think they should have called that, especially how the flow of the game was going. At the end of the day, the Bengals had an opportunity at midfield, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and they couldn't get it done. So however you slice that, that's on the Bengals, and it just wasn't their day. It wasn't meant to be for them, and if it was meant to be for them, they would have gotten that. It would have went to overtime, and we completely forget about the Logan Wilson call. I shouldn't say forget about it, because we still talk about it no matter what. But the T. Higgins call, it was huge. But at the end of the day, it happened. It was the first play of the third quarter, so people were kind of like, they'll make up for it later on in the game. It's not that big of a deal because it happened so early in the third quarter. And while I get it, the time frame that penalties happen, at the end of the day, the Bengals had another shot, and that wasn't the reason why they lost the game.
And I also want to address one more thing on that final drive. I see so many people talking about, well, Jamar Chase had Jalen Ramsey beat on that 4th and 1. Guys, don't take this the wrong way. If you still shot every single play in the NFL somewhere, someone's got someone beat. He wasn't going to Jamar Chase down that sideline on 4th and 1. The goal was on the left side of the field. They had basically a rub route situation where one receiver, the outside receiver, was running a slant, and the inside receiver, the slot receiver, was basically running a flat, and they were it was a rub route. And the cornerback for the Rams on the opposite side made a great play to actually cover the slant when he was expected to switch off onto the flat. That changed Joe Burrow's, his first read was that slant because the way the rub route was set up, and the corner that was responsible for the flat route jumped the slant. So Burrow had to hold the ball for an extra second, and that extra second was Aaron Donald getting his hands on him, and it was essentially where he was throwing him down. That was the game. The play was never designed to Jamar Chase. They seen Jamar Chase, Jalen Ramsey on the outside. That's not where the play was designed to go. That's not where his eyes were. You guys have to understand what the Bengals were trying to do there. That play was never designed for Jamar Chase. Bill?
No, I agree. That Jamar Chase is probably his 3rd or 4th read on that play. And he's never getting through that progression unless he's got 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket to probably get there. And he didn't have that all game, and he sure as hell isn't going to chance that and take that on a 4th and 1 with the game riding on that decision. Outside the penalty calls, the worst calls in that game were the play calls that last drive. They got the big play with Chase to get to midfield. They got first down. They went 9 yards, and then Zach Taylor at some point lost his damn mind shortly thereafter. I don't hate the 2nd and 1 shot as much as other people do, because if you hit it, it's a perfect time for it. You have to think your football team can get 1 yard or the next 2 downs with a minute to go. So I don't hate the 2nd and 1 shot like other people do.
Agreed.
The 3rd and 1.
Yes, this is it.
This is where we get bad. I don't even have a problem with the running the ball. How is your best running back not on the field? How is he not carrying the ball there?
Could not agree with you more, Bill.
Not only that, we all agreed that he probably wasn't going to have a great game, and he thought he was going to be under. Joe Mixon actually had a good football game. You the Super Bowl on the line. How is your best running back not in the football game? So you get stuff there. My only issue with the 4th and 1 is this. I don't have an issue with the play call per se, other than the formation they lined up in. You just ran for 3rd and 1. You left him in the game, so you didn't bring Mixon back in the game. The Rams knew you were not running the football. So while you're a Bengals fan, you have the ball in the hand of your best football player on your team. I understand that. But you're leaving him to be a sitting duck. When they come out of the huddle and they get in formation and they start to go through their calls and everything else, the Rams 100% knew they were throwing that football. They were not running it. So your best defensive player in the league is now getting in his stance saying, I don't have to worry about anything. I have 3 seconds to get to Joe Burrow. And that's what he did. Those 2 play calls, and to Cottrell's point, if McPherson still has to kick the field goal at some point, he could miss. Who knows? If we get to overtime, who the hell knows what happens? You took a huge chance for your team to win a Super Bowl, or at least tie and force it to overtime out of their hands with those play calling. He will lose sleep over those. I promise you he has already probably. They will haunt him. I
don't think they're going to haunt him too much. He got extended the next day.
Yeah, but he got extended because he got there. But there's no guarantee you ever get back.
I couldn't agree with you more on the Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon situation. I don't know how in the world Joe Mixon's not in the game there. I don't take any of my starters off the field. That's the last drive of your season. You got to give me everything you got. That's like the death crawl in the Chasing, whatever that movie is where he's doing the death. You have to have your best players on the field there. Have to. You can't have Joe Mixon not on the field.
No, it's brutal. It's damn near unforgivable, honestly.
I agree. I feel like a lot of teams in these NFL playoffs, they just got tight. The one thing I'll give Sean McVay and I'll give Matt Stafford, I got to give them credit because Matt Stafford didn't play great that game. But on that last drive, you're like, forget it. I'm getting the ball to Cooper Kupp. And they designed play after play after play to get the ball to Cooper Kupp, get the ball in their best players' hands. And I thought that was that wasn't scared football. They were thrown in double coverage. He threw a no-look pass across the middle. That was an incredible pass.
The no-look play is incredible because that's the one play where it keeps pointing to that they keep breaking down. And then when ESPN, like Orlovsky and all them were breaking it down, they had the actual reverse angle where you actually could see his eyes. You could see the guy from Cincinnati actually look at him and move. And as soon as he did, he threw the ball right past his outstretched fingertips, right in stride to Cooper Kupp for that big 30-yard gain. You know, it's one of those things people are always like, oh, they should just let him score. I don't agree with that because the Rams had to score there. You know, if you can stop them, you know, then you win the game. So I hate that. I saw a lot of people posting that. I don't think that's
real at all.
I agree. I mean, it's happened in other Super Bowls before. Like Green Bay did it against Denver. Totally different situation, though.
Yeah, but in that situation there, you're down 4 points.
I'm saying
it's not like a field goal game.
Correct, exactly. And that's why it's nonsense. So I don't think people realized how dumb that sounded after they posted it. But listen, you need your stars to show up at the big times, and they did. Cooper Kupp, he was damn near unstoppable in the fourth quarter. Aaron Donald, last 3 drives, he was unblockable.
We're talking about stars.
Mm-hmm.
I got to talk about one GOAT. Like what? Not a GOAT, like greatest all time. Like one dog, one guy that got just absolutely abused in this game. And I have to bring it up because how loud he was that entire postseason, talking shit to everyone, and that's Eli Apple. I got to bring it up. Eli Apple. I've never seen the NFL players collectively get behind roasting that man. And it's like one of those guys that when you talk that much shit to that many people and you're the butt of the joke. You're the guy that got burnt all over the field, especially he got beat for 2 touchdowns, you know, huge ones. Eli Apple, man, he's got to be holding his head a little. Like that could easily be one of your guys. You got to be kidding me. I might be stealing it, but like that guy just made an ass out of himself that game. I mean, from everybody, from Mecole Hardman to Hollywood Brown to a couple people from the Saints organization, Giants players, like every ex-teammate of his, just like he just really, really made an ass out of himself. And you know, humility goes a long way in the NFL, and being a little bit more humble might be a better route for Eli Apple.
Yeah, I mean, the line between humility and confident and overly cocky, it's a fine one. And he took both feet and stepped right into the territory where you don't want to be. Either that, or you better have a great game and play well. Like you said, not get torched for 2 touchdowns and then expect nothing to be said. The only problem I have is...
I was gonna say, just the funny thing with Eli Apple is that he wasn't like the past 4 or 5 years that he's been in the league, he hasn't been good. Like he was his first round pick coming out of Ohio State, and he was supposed to be, you know, the next shutdown corner. But every place that he's been, he hasn't played well. That's on the Bengals now. Like the Saints didn't want him, the Giants didn't want him, and you trash these organizations that didn't want you because you didn't play well, and now you just because you're on a team that's winning games at, you know. Not, in a large part, not because of you, more so in spite of you. And you have the nerve to just like talk crazy to all these people. I mean, talking to Tyreek Hill the way that he was, like it's just crazy. So
I couldn't agree with you more, Cottrell. Couldn't agree with you more, Bill. Eli Apple really just kind of really. I want to go to the wire line real quick. We have a couple really good comments on here. First, I want to bring up Travis Zachary's. Can we talk about the 2 different teams making the Super Bowl? One basically through free agency and one through drafting and building. That shows the parity in the NFL. I think that's absolutely.
There's 2 distinct ways to build a team. I mean, they went out and got Stafford and gave away even more assets, and that is. They had a window of this year to win the Super Bowl, and if you've looked at it after this, you know, after the season already, you know, with everything, who's coming up for contracts, who might not coming back, like that team is going to look drastically different next year.
Well, you're right. The funny thing about that is if they don't win the Super Bowl, I think they're just completely depleted. Winning the Super Bowl might give them a 1 more year window because they might get the run it back thing like Tampa Bay. They might do that.
I mean, it's gonna be It's going to be tight. I mean, obviously, you'll get Woods back. You're not going to have OBJ at all, maybe, depending on if he resigns. He's still got to rehab. Who knows if he even plays next year? They're losing a couple other pieces other places, but I mean, they can fill the holes. But
how about Eric Weddle, man?
Yeah, I mean,
played 3 quarters on a torn bicep.
Torn bicep.
That's unbelievable, man.
Not easy to do.
Cottrell, thoughts on that comment?
I mean, Eric Weddle, the funny / like crazy thing about Eric Weddle is that he had only been back for a month now, and he was the one who was getting the plays called into his helmet as like, the facilitator of that defense. So him being out there and physically, we know that he was hurt, but him just being that mental leader on that Rams defense, where you had so many guys that were banged up in that secondary and just so many plug and play pieces there that just weren't, they're normal guys all throughout the season. Eric Weddle was a huge part of that. And I think just him being out there with his toughness and just his smarts in general, like getting guys lined up, making sure they're in the right spots, it went a long way for that Rams secondary.
And the second comment on the wireline I want to talk about is Chris Hackney wrote, "Can the Bengals be good for a long time? Burrow and Chase going to be expensive. So will Mixon, Boyd, and Higgins. Plus need an O-line, no guarantees in the NFL. Can the Bengals be good for a long time?"
They have a big window.
I agree.
Chase and Burrow. I mean, Burrow's getting paid a decent amount of money now. It's not like he's getting paid chump change. Same with Chase.
He's getting $40 million now.
No, I agree, but we're not there yet. They don't have to be there yet. Mixon's the one I guess you would probably worry about. He's probably up soon. But I mean, we've seen it year after year now, kind of with the running back. I mean, not that they're all replaceable. It's just not. It's not a position you have to invest an insane amount of money at anymore.
I think you invest draft capital and keep replenishing the position.
Correct. I mean, and you have Evans there. You have Pirine there already. I mean, I don't know if those guys are every down backs per se, but I mean, they already have people there in position. I mean, but you saw what Mixon can do. I mean, we've talked about it before, throughout the course of this entire show. He finally stayed healthy this year, and when you play 15 out of 17 games, you see what he really is now. I think he's going to try to stay there, but it's a matter of some team offers you a crap ton of money. I mean, you have to go, I guess.
100%.
But
they have the second most cap space, though. They have all this cap space with all those young players developing. Yeah. I think their window is huge, but the problem with the Bengals, and I want to bring this up before Cottrell steals my point because I feel like he's ready to, is they're in a conference with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Like, you got a stud group of teams in that conference to compete with them year in and year out.
You do. I mean, but they came out of it this year. I mean,
I understand, but like that run this year was they were 10-7. They weren't juggernauts all year. They got hot at the right time.
It's not going to be easy, but I mean, again, that's a team that is at the beginning of their window, and they should. I mean, you have to say 2 years from now. I mean, you would have to. I think we would all agree. Burrow will be even better. Chase will be even better than he is now.
I think Burrow to Chase is going to be like
that's
one of those ones for the record books.
I don't disagree. I've been on record numerous times saying he's the next big thing. I didn't think the decision between drafting the O-line and him was that tough a decision for me. I understand the O-line is still obviously a glaring need for that football team.
I feel like they could have used free agency money that they had this year too.
I agree, but with that pick, when he fell to them, I thought it was a no-brainer. You had to take him,
especially because of rapport with Burrow.
I think he's a generational wide receiver. I think he is the next in line of. Obviously, you have Julio and Hopkins. They're kind of on their way out. I think he is the next one in that line of a big physical, big play. At his peak, is the best wide receiver in the league for a 5 to 6 year span. I think he's that guy.
I agree with
and
you.
He's got an absolute stud to throw him the football. He's not in a weird spot. It's just he's really good.
I agree.
I don't know what else to really say.
Cottrell, any thoughts?
My whole thing with that is I think that they do have a big window. My only worry is that Cincinnati is notorious for not making the splashes in free agency. They're notorious for not signing their guys to the, long-term extensions. Well, I think Burrow gets the extension, Chase gets the extension. The other guys, I'm not so sure about. Like when it's T. Higgins' time, like is he going to get a, 3, 4, 5 year extension? I don't know about that. As for the offensive line, I don't know how big of a splash are they going to make. Yes, I think they address it, and I think that they're going to be better than what they were this year. But I don't know if they're going to go out and get, a first round offensive tackle, move up in the draft to get a first round offensive tackle, or sign a tackle from free agency, worth 13, 14, $15 million a year, to get a cornerstone for your offensive line. I just don't know if Cincinnati is that team to do that. So while it's great they have all this money in free agency, typically Cincinnati is not the franchise to go out and just spend that money. So that's my only kind of what makes me a little bit weary about Cincinnati at this point.
You're going to say what I'm going to say. I know it.
I want to give Cincinnati a little bit more credit than Cottrell is. And the point I'm giving them credit for is they've made the right decisions the last few years.
Yeah.
They made the right decision with T. Higgins. They made the right decision with Jamar Chase. They made the right decision with Joe Burrow. They've made the right decision in a lot of aspects the last few years. And I think they did a great job addressing their defense this year. Their defense was a lot better.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates is a stud. The guy's unbelievable.
I think,
But
Cottrell, to your point, I think Cincinnati is kind of like where Cleveland was a couple years ago, honestly. I just think they have the quarterback position more figured out. I think they finally started making good personnel moves. They got the right people in the right position. Now they're building that franchise and running it properly like everybody else in the NFL is. I think they're on their way up. I think they're going to keep getting better. I think people are going to want to go there and play with Joe Burrow. I also think that factors in as well. People are not going to have an issue going to Cincinnati to play with Joe Cool and Jamar Chase and all those guys.
I want to hear his counterpoint.
No, I absolutely do too.
My counterpoint would be, though, you talked about their defense, and while I agree their defense was much improved this year, just think about the guys on that defense outside of Jesse Bates, because Jesse Bates is one of those guys who was kind of, homegrown in a sense.
Yeah.
You have Mike Hilton. They brought him in through free agency. Eli was a free agency. Ogunjobi, Hendrickson. And yes, it's working for them. I don't want that to get misconstrued at all. But these aren't, big time splashes. Like, I would say they need an upgrade from Eli Apple on that team. And while yes, it worked this year, I just don't know if Cincinnati is that team to go out and get that next step up. They draft well. I'll give them all the credit in the world there. They've been drafting great the past few years.
But to your point,
as far as free agents, just don't know how much money they're willing to spend.
But to your point, you just basically said they signed the right people this offseason. So, why wouldn't they continue signing the right people? Like you just said, those guys just brought in a free agency, and they were the right people
for the right people for the right price, though. I mean, at some point,
but they were the right people, right?
It didn't get them a championship. You got to get better.
Okay.
I don't know how much more they're willing to spend to get better at the position they need to get better at.
Cottrell sounds like a scared Cleveland fan right now.
I just put the Browns aspect behind it. I wasn't putting two and two together until you said that.
Hey, for the longest of time, I saw it front and center. Cleveland wasn't going out there spending a whole bunch of money in free agency or making the big time, trades or anything like that. So we just caught up with the times just now. The one thing that's not different in Cincinnati, yeah, that's a fact. Don't even get me started on that. But the other thing with Cincinnati, though, is that they haven't had any change in ownership or anything like that. The Browns, luckily enough, have had, someone to come in that's willing to spend the money for the trades and things like that. So it's just something I want to keep an eye on.
No, I understand. I want to get into what we are way too early Super Bowl predictions. Last year on this show, Rams over Chiefs was my prediction. A year later, here's where we stand. I got lucky with the Rams. I got lucky with Georgia. Let's hope I can do it with the three-peat and do it next year. I have a crazy one. I posted it on the page. I want to explain it a little bit. But do you guys want me to go first, or do you guys want to go? And I'll go. You guys already know mine.
Yeah, I'd say you might as well just go first.
Okay. So I know mine sounds a little bit wonky, and I know that the Buffalo Bills isn't a crazy prediction. I think the Buffalo Bills win their first Super Bowl next year. I think Josh Allen and that team comes back, and I think, you're going to get a lot of that. The cornerback, very, very good cornerback. I'm forgetting his name. Help me out. Their Pro Bowl cornerback that was out this year.
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White's going to come back next year. They're going to have money in free agency. I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be the Super Bowl champions next year. The part that's a little bit weird for me is my NFC contender is the San Francisco 49ers without Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Trey Lance takes a huge step forward this offseason and a full year in Kyle Shanahan's system and a full offseason learning the program, learning everything that's going on. And I think Deebo Samuel continues to stride forward. I think that team as a whole, with their defense, the way they're built, they have money to spend with the young quarterback, obviously losing Garoppolo's money. I think the San Francisco 49ers come out of the NFC next year. I think it's Bills over 49ers, and Steve Berman finally gets his prediction to come true.
Is Jimmy G a free agent or is he on an option?
I think he has a one year left in his deal. I don't know if it's an option or not, but they already have expressed.
Yeah, he's not coming back. I was just curious if he's just straight coming off the books or they have to trade him.
I think they trade him.
Okay.
I'm 90% sure they have to trade him.
You're probably right. I don't know.
I think he has 1 year left on his 4-year deal.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I agree with half of yours.
It's fair.
I believe the Buffalo Bills make the Super Bowl next year. They've kind of taken that next big step the last 2 years. They couldn't beat Kansas City. They beat Kansas City. I think they get there next year. I think they finally get over the hump. And I do not think that they will beat the Kansas City Chiefs to get there. But later, get more into that later on in my bold prediction. My NFC team, though, is the Green Bay Packers. I think they get there next year. I've been on record. I don't think Rodgers is going anywhere. They will franchise tag Devontae Adams. If that team stays healthy, like they were at the beginning of this year, last year, I think they come out of the NFC and we get Rodgers versus Allen in the Super Bowl. I will sign up for that quarterback matchup any day of the week.
That would be very fun to watch.
Yes, it will. So that is.
I'll go on record again. I do not think Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer by week 1. Just saying that now. Cottrell?
I'm with you. I'm with you, Gene. I think Aaron Rodgers has had his days in Green Bay finished. As for my Super Bowl pick, though, I got a crazy one too. Mine's even crazier than yours, Gene.
Okay.
I'm going with Kansas City Chiefs, which isn't that crazy. I think, Kansas City Chiefs for the New Orleans Saints.
Ah.
Yeah, let's go. We're out of here.
So, right.
To stop.
Cut
his mic. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. God.
They are going to find a way. There are some pieces that they have to get rid of because of their cap situation, but
the $70 million over the cap.
that team it's built so well. It's currently constructed, and they draft so well. I think that's a team that's going to be a force to reckon with. And the thing that they got going for them is that Tom Brady is no longer in the NFC South, so that they can run away with that division.
And their coach quit on them. It's perfect.
Dennis Allen is their new head coach, though. So you got a guy they're familiar with.
Quit on them.
To your point, can we explain how nobody gave him shit?
I've given him shit the entire time.
He
was like, "We're over the cap. I don't have a quarterback. Deuces."
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
And nobody said anything. Nobody said anything.
If he never coaches again, are you still upset with him?
No, but he'll be coaching for Dallas next year.
Well,
the following year.
There's still red tape they have to cut through for that all to happen.
Yeah, I think.
Well, yeah.
After this next year,
he'd have to basically pay the Saints back some money.
Yeah.
And
I just think that I was I guess we're just gonna give Sean Payton a pass. I was like, all right.
Cottrell picked so PDSU picked. You're having a little bit of audio issues, so
you're cutting it out a little bit.
But Cottrell picked the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New Orleans Saints.
It's Jamie's
and
fault.
If that happens, I will be so shocked. I will be so shocked. That will be one of those moments that we clip it and we're a year later wow.
Who do you think is going on QB wise, Cottrell?
It's part of my bold prediction. Stay tuned.
Oh, all right.
All right, so let's get in bold predictions.
There we go.
You want to start yours?
Am I giving all three?
Nah.
Let's do 3 at a time. This way we can clip it.
All right.
Yeah, give me all 3.
All right. So my first bold position, top 10 quarterback will play for New Orleans. Well, I haven't pinpointed exactly who it's going to be. I have 3 that I'm very interested in.
How are you gonna make a bold prediction with no quarterback?
Going there. A top 10. They trade for a top 10 quarterback
We got to name one, bro. That's why it's bold. Who's it going to be?
With their cap being as crazy as it is, that's the bold part about it. But the three names that I want to look out for: Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. I think those are the three that are going to be in play for New Orleans.
40 million, 40 million, 30 million. It's too much.
My second bold
Carr's on a contract, isn't he? Carr wanted to be traded.
The Cincinnati Bengals won't make the playoffs next year.
Oof.
It's a Cleveland fan too.
And then
it's a scared Browns fan right there.
My third bold prediction: Bill Belichick will coach his last game in 2023.
Cottrell went into like FanDuel, like the plus 6,000 odd parlay games for the Super Bowl, and picked 3 of them for his bold predictions.
That's bold, though. You can't lie. If it happens, he's wearing the crown.
If that happens, and Cottrell's making all my bets next year.
Go ahead, Shally.
All right.
Real quick caveat though on my one bold prediction with the Bengals. I think that the Ravens are going to win the AFC North, and I think it is just a absolute blood in the AFC. The AFC West, who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to Denver or not? But I think we just get so many more teams in the playoffs that, like, I think the Chargers make the playoffs next year, and if Denver can get an actual quarterback, I think they make the playoffs next year. So that's where I was going with that.
Okay.
My first one, I'm going to stay local for the first one. Jalen Hurts will not be the quarterback of this team starting week 1. It's going to be a top 10 free agent quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. I'll actually give you one. Deshaun Watson will be your quarterback opening week 1 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'd sign up for that.
That's my first one.
I would sign up for that.
I think everybody will. If you don't, then you're just an absolute, I don't even know what to say. My second one, Cincinnati wins the AFC North again.
It's not bold.
And makes the AFC Championship game again.
There we go. That's a little bold.
But loses to Buffalo. My third one, I truly believe this. Tom Brady will play in the NFL next year for somebody. Have it be somebody who gets hurt, somebody who needs to get over the edge. I don't think he's going to be able to stay away because I truly don't think he wants to stop playing. I think that he got a lot of pressure from Giselle and the kiddos to stay home. I think he plays football next year.
I have 3. They're not nearly as bold as you two are. I wish. Yeah, I'm the guy that went on the first show with the Be Bold shirt, and you guys are just way, way more bold than me. But first one is, I think by the time the draft starts, I think 2 quarterbacks will go in the top 10. Right now, there's projected none. I think the 2 quarterbacks that go in the top 10 will be Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. I think both of those quarterbacks will go top 10. I think 2? Yes, 2. That's bold.
That is bold.
My second one is probably the most bold one of them all. I think that Trey Lance will be a Pro Bowler and will receive MVP consideration next year. And my third one, and I wish I could trash him a little bit more, one of my favorite players in the NFL. Kyler Murray will not be an Arizona Cardinal week 1.
I almost used that one.
I don't think Kyler Murray's an Arizona Cardinal week 1, and I think that he could leave the NFL to play baseball.
So you're reading like way into that then.
Yes.
I actually think that's the boldest one out of anybody said anything, to be honest.
I didn't hear anything Cottrell just said there.
Is he talking?
Cottrell was talking and I didn't hear it.
He looks like
no audio whatsoever.
He looks like one of the bad
Cottrell, do me a favor.
Do
me a favor. Log out, log back in. I just think you have audio issues. And then we'll be here. We'll just start talking about the next topic.
Well, do we want to BS for like 2 minutes, see if he comes back?
Yeah. He doesn't have anything else for the NFL that we gave as bold predictions.
That's
true. We're basically done NFL.
I think the QB carousel is about to get real interesting.
Oh, I agree. I think Deshaun Watson going to Philadelphia would be great. He just came out today recently and said that he would prefer destination would be Minnesota.
Ew.
Yeah. Cottrell's back.
That's gross.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said his preferred destination would be Minnesota.
Who the hell's in Minnesota, though?
He said Minnesota and Tampa Bay are his 2 preferred destinations right now.
He goes Tampa Bay. That's not good for teams in the NFC. That's a problem.
I was saying though before, Gene, when you were talking some Carson, like some Carson Wentz spiel.
I can't barely hear you, but I heard you talk about Carson Wentz. I'm not really talking about Carson Wentz right now. He made an ass out of himself in the Jacksonville game, and I wish him well. I think he's a great human being. I think he could be an NFL quarterback. But there's nothing I really have to say about Carson at this point.
Situation's gonna be very interesting. That I don't want to say that it was leaked, but that came from whoever it came from. Nobody from Indy's actually like officially commented on it. I think if somebody offers them the right deal, I think they'll move on from him. I would say it's probably still better 50-50 that he probably is there next year. They gave up a first rounder to get him. They'd be eating a lot of money to get rid of him. They're not going to get a first rounder back for him. Chris Ballard doesn't do business that way. It's kind of the reason they're in the situation they're in, just in general with that team and cap room and all that stuff. If somebody makes a run for him or offers him something I think they think is, acceptable for him, I think they'll trade him.
All right. I very rarely does a wire-to-wire wireline listener piss me off to the point where I have to respond to it, and it's just totally off topic. But somebody just pissed me off on the wireline.
Go ahead. Who is it?
Chris Hackney wrote, "You going to talk Olympics? Remember blasting Sha'Carri Richardson, but letting Valieva compete. Where's the hammer for that?" Let me just respond to you real quick, Chris. First of all, we blasted Sha'Carri Richardson not because of what she did or why she couldn't play, why she couldn't go to the Olympics. Everybody understood her mother died and that she was smoking marijuana to cope with the loss of her mother. She handled that very well. What we blasted Sha'Carri Richardson for was the fact that she ran against these people and finished 9th and then said, "I don't think anybody's better than me," and got in an interview and said that. That's what we blasted Sha'Carri Richardson for. Second of all, I will blast the Olympic Committee all friggin' day for allowing that girl to compete. That's an absolute joke. It's a double standard, and Sha'Carri Richardson is right about her response to that. But don't give me this bullshit. Remember, you blasted Sha'Carri Richardson, but you're not saying anything about, I can't even pronounce the chick's name. I'm sorry, Valieva. I don't care. She shouldn't be competing in the and Russia is a joke for what they do with their Olympic drug testing. So
that's a whole nother
spiel.
It is,
and I'll get into that. But don't give me shit for blasting Sha'Carri Richardson for going in an interview after finishing 9th, saying that she would have bronzed or silvered in the Olympics, and then she finished 9th out of 9 competitors. I don't want to hear that bullshit. She got blasted for that, not for anything else.
The other thing you have to realize with that situation is while I don't disagree with what she said, there's different levels to that. There's the U.S. Olympic organization, there's USADA, there's the Olympic testing pool. They're all different things. They all operate differently in a weird way. The Russian figure skater, her thing is still under, like, she's been cleared to skate. Like, they're going to let her skate. If she's been found guilty, if she wins gold, I think she skates tonight, actually. If she wins gold and they decide that she was wrong and it was intentional and whatever else they're going to do, they're going to strip her. So there's no really super reason to get super pissed off about it yet, because it's not over yet. Like, there's no final outcome to it yet on her side.
She shouldn't be competing.
I don't disagree with you there. There's also the whole thing, she's a minor versus where Sha'Carri's an adult. They give the minors, more protection and so forth and so on. I can't remember all the acronyms for all these damn organizations. There's so many of them. But you're comparing the ruling of 2 different organizations as well. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it because we have a lot to go through. But, I would wait till that plays out before we completely play the underscored race card, which is what
I
Chris
think
wants to do.
I think the craziest part of it all is the fact that the skater who was in question here, she was using performance enhancing drugs as opposed to, just recreational, marijuana. Like, I think that's the crazy disconnect for me here. But I know there is a lot more to get into with it. The IOC even came out with like a little snippet today and said that the situations were completely different and that there was no parallels between the two. But just looking at it on the surface, you would think that the performance enhancing drugs would be more of an issue. And I'm okay with Sha'Carri not being able to compete in the Summer Olympics. The rules are the rules. And while I think they're bad rules that they need to change, though at the time that it happened, those were the rules, so I'm fine with that. But I wanted it to consistently be that way, and this figure skater shouldn't have been allowed to compete in these Winter Olympics either.
I agree, and Gene touched on it too. The whole Russian thing in general is a joke. They just at this point they just shouldn't be allowed at the Olympics. It's every Olympics. It's over and over and over now. I mean, that's literally why they compete as the Russian Olympic Committee, because they're not allowed to compete under the Russian flag because the Russians are banned from the freaking Olympics right now.
I agree, 100%.
Like, there's a movie out there called Icarus. I've mentioned it before on the show. If you want to know how to the depths they went to get their athletes over the top and everything, go watch the documentary Icarus. It's on Netflix. The government was funding this program. This isn't like an athlete and a coach on the side being like, yo, take this, like it'll make you run faster or you'll be able to skate a little harder for a little longer. This was from the top of the country, Putin down, dumping money into this program for blood doping and everything else to get these athletes, over the hump. Like, it's a joke. They shouldn't be there. But again, that's a different discussion for a different day.
100%. So let's get into UFC. But before we do that, we got to talk about our sponsor. This segment's brought to you by Old North Contracting, where they specialize in your home needs and home improvement needs, from roofing and siding to interior remodels and additions. They are a local, veteran, and family-owned and operated company serving the tri-state area. Contact info is on the screen. The owner, Ryan Goodman, personal friend of ours, 215-756-7456. Guy's an awesome human being. Love everything that he's doing with Old North Contracting. Project managers Chris Hackney and Cody Runner. Phone numbers are 267-535-9957. You can also use that phone number to yell at Chris for his take that he just put on the wire line. And then Cody Runner at 267-469-1791. If you need contracting done, Old North Contracting has you covered. By the way, I'm actually reaching out to them this week for contracting at Jacob's house.
Nice.
So that's actually, actually a real plug. Like, I really, plug. Yeah, plug, 100%. I'm confident enough to give them my business.
No plug.
All right, let's get into the UFC.
Do it.
So I'm gonna try to do this a little bit quicker because I feel like that we got to get into the Ben Simmons trade, and it's not a ton to get into. The first thing that I want to bring up is I think that I almost had it spot on. Me and Control, you were right. You got it right. But
3-0.
Man, he got wrestled down to the ground. He was I watching that fight, I thought I had it nailed perfectly, and then he got up, he was tired.
Which fight are you talking about right now?
I'm talking about
the Brunson Cannonier fight.
Oh, okay.
Cannonier was on his back.
Yep.
And Brunson spent a lot of energy holding him down.
Yep.
And then when he got up, it looked like he was in a different world. And then he got knocked out.
He got gassed.
So, I seen how the fight was supposed to go. It just didn't finish that way.
He woke up too early.
Exactly.
Yeah, listen. Watching that, I was completely prepared to come here and eat shit the way that fight started. I was like, he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose bad. I'm gonna listen to Gene brag, tell me out no shit about UFC.
Come on, man.
No, I was joking. But it did, man. Like he got up and he looked like he just ran a marathon. Like he had wobbly legs. Like he was like it looked like everything in his body went to jello, and then he just got smoked, and that was it. I don't know. More treadmill time, more running time. I don't know. I just it's just weird for people who are known to be wrestlers too. Like they don't usually gas like that. I don't know what happened. It was really weird. That was one of the more noticeable times you see somebody get up and like you said, like right away you were like, he's in trouble. Like he is tired. Like tired.
You know what it reminded me of? I bring Eddie Alvarez up a lot on the show because I watch every one of his fights.
Here's the Eddie plug for the UFC show.
Eddie Alvarez was dominating Dustin Poirier on the ground, and he had him held against the cage. And then he got stood up because he dropped an elbow on top of Dustin's head. And you could tell he spent all his energy trying to stop Dustin on the ground and dropping an elbow on his head. He got stood up. And when he got stood up, you could just see how tired he was. He needed the end of that round to happen.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Shane Carwin, Brock Lesnar.
That's a good
Carwin spent everything trying to stop Lesnar, and then the second round, Lesnar killed him.
The worst non-stoppage in the history of the UFC.
Agreed. But, I know that Cannonier is strong as a bull, but I feel like I feel like he's completely set up for failure at this point.
I think they both were, and we said that last week. I think whoever won that fight, if that is who is next for Izzy, I think whoever it was getting smoked anyway. So it's whatever.
So
I'm not going to be excited.
I want to get into
fight.
Izzy because we're talking about that.
Mm.
Cottrell, your thoughts on Brunson Cannonier?
I mean, you guys already hit it. I don't have it. So, I mean, not really much more to say with that. At this point with Derek Brunson, I have no clue where he goes from here. He's really the gatekeeper now of the middleweight division. The tough thing is that now that Izzy won that fight, and we would all assume that he's facing Cannonier next, Brunson's got to go through, Vettori or Whitaker. Like, he's got some guys that he has to go through before he even gets thought about again. So I don't know where he goes from here.
So I want to get into, just because that was like a qualifier to fight Izzy, I want to get into Izzy Whitaker fight. I think I nailed that perfectly. I said a very tight decision for Izzy. I said Whitaker will give him everything that he asked for. I think I nailed that perfectly. I want to address the people that were posting that they thought Whitaker won the fight. And I just really kind of want to understand where they're coming from. And I'm sure I'll get a couple comments on the wire line because I see RJ on here already. I clearly scored that fight 1, 3, and 4 for Izzy. I don't know how
that's a
you
discrepancy.
didn't score at 1, 3, 4.
It's where is the third round for Whitaker is where the argument becomes.
The third round? Nobody gave him the third. I think
Fourth round.
Fourth round.
I'm saying that is the conversation that needs to be had.
Oh, what's the third round he won? I got it.
Yeah, sorry. So I think, again, I did the same as you guys. I think 2 and 5 for Whitaker. I think everything else was Izzy. It gets into a bigger discussion again where the way the UFC scores fight. Takedowns forever have been like the almighty scoring decision. Like, you take a guy down 4 times, you're going to win rounds.
But it didn't do anything.
I don't disagree, and I'm not sticking up for it. I'm just saying the way their rules are written, again, it's a different discussion for a different time. There's been numerous conversations about them switching their scoring system for this reason and others. But I think people are so used to seeing if a guy gets taken down, unless you get up for the last 2 minutes and you either completely dominate to stand up for the last 2 minutes of that round or something like that, they're used to seeing the person who takes the other person down win rounds. And I think that's a lot of what you're seeing with the pushback. I still think Izzy won the fight.
If he held him on the ground for a minute on any of those takedowns, I would understand that.
I
he didn't hold him down at all. It was 15, 20 seconds. He's up.
I agree.
Izzy got up every single time. He did more damage in the stand-up. The most dominant round was the first round for Izzy. Whitaker fought that fight scared. And my rule of rules, in order to be the champion, you have to beat the champion. Yep. And no one left that fight thinking Robert Whitaker definitively beat the champion. Am I incorrect on that, Control?
My other issue with that whole thing too is that you Whitaker should have won certain rounds because of takedowns. Why don't you feel that Izzy won points from defending the takedown? Whitaker was only 4 of 10 for takedowns in that fight. That's 40%. That's not good shooting, and especially because he didn't do anything with those takedowns. And RJ, I see he said he was chasing Izzy. That wasn't the case. Izzy
controlled the center of the ring.
Fight. Yes,
Izzy controlled the center of that ring.
Yes, exactly. He did. And, Whitaker was more focused on the counter strikes, and you could see that in that fight. In the first fight, he got knocked out. He got knocked down at the end of the first round. And then in the second round, we know Izzy ended him there. In this fight, you could tell that his focus was on trying to wrestle and trying to counter strike. He didn't want to get hit by Izzy. He didn't want to be the aggressor in that fight. And in that 5th round, he started to be more aggressive, and that's how he won that round. To me, the 5th round looked so much different than every other round on that card. a lot of people, I thought the second round could have went either way, and a lot of people gave Izzy the second round. I thought Whitaker just did a little bit more than what Izzy did. But like you said, Gene, in order to be the champion, you have to beat the champion. If he would have gave me the performance in round 3 and 4 that he gave me in round 5, then we're having a completely different conversation right now. But that wasn't the case. Whitaker didn't get more aggressive until at that point the fight was already over. Izzy was already up 3-1 on a lot of the scorecards. So,
and listen, I'll back up your point with saying that the second round was close enough to actually give Izzy. It wasn't a clear definitive round for Whitaker. I think the most definitive rounds were 1 and 5, and I think Izzy won the first a lot more definitively than Whitaker won the 5th. And if you're going to split the other 3, the champion keeps the belt.
Agreed.
Any thoughts, Bill?
I don't disagree at all. I think the interesting thing to see with the middleweight division is I think Izzy's going to start getting into Anderson Silva territory soon.
Well, they keep showing it. They keep showing how many fights he won versus Anderson.
I don't even mean so much that as I think Izzy's going to get bored soon. I mean, again, like we said it, like I don't care who won the Cannonier Brunson fight. Either one of those guys are beating him. They're just not. I mean, it's
I think Cannonier will be more laughable than Whitaker was.
Oh God, yeah.
The first Whitaker, I'm not the second one.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, yeah. I mean,
Cannonier I don't know what he can do to. Izzy's going to stick and move him the entire fight. Like I think at least with Brunson, you could just rely on wrestling, and he has the opportunity to wrestle him down to be able to make a play. But with Cannonier, you're not going to outstrike him, and everybody tries to catch him. Nobody catches him.
The other thing with Cannonier is that we saw against Brunson that he doesn't have the strongest of chins. Like if you're gonna stand and bang with Izzy, you either have to have knockout power or you have to have a strong chin. And I don't think anyone here thinks he's knocking out Izzy. And if Derek Brunson can get you on a knockdown, then I know Izzy's taking you out. So I 100% agree.
Is there a Chris Weidman anywhere in that division?
No. Oh, you mean like a comparable?
Just lands the miracle left.
Yeah. I think Silva went into that fight just so like laughable, like, and he got caught like he just. You don't want to get my full.
And Izzy's not that
fight.
Character.
You don't want to get my full thoughts on that Weidman Silva fight. I really, really have some weird, strange, like rabbit hole type thoughts on that fight. So I don't want to get into that.
Like tinfoil head stuff.
Like yeah, close.
Like conspiracy. Oh.
Yeah, I really do.
Maybe another show.
Yeah, but last fight I want to get into is obviously the Tua. I love Bam Bam.
You didn't love him enough to pick him.
First of all, I wanted to pick him. I said, you know what's funny? Do you remember what I said with the fight? I said, my notes for this fight is I don't know how this happened.
I think we all
And do. I don't. And Derek Lewis, all right, so any other heavyweight in that division, any other one, Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou, takes those 3 punches that Bam Bam took on the way up by Derek Lewis, they're out cold. Bam Bam even said in the interview afterwards, which I thought was scary. He goes, he hit me pretty flush, but I didn't really feel like I was ever in trouble. And like that guy's got a chin, and he's fun to watch, and he's entertaining. And it was very obvious that Derek Lewis gassed.
Always does.
And when he gassed, those elbows were flush.
Tuivasa's got a freaking cinder block for a head. I don't know. I mean, it was crazy. I'm with you. I saw that and I was like, here comes another loss. He just got up and I was like, oh, all right. That was a crazy fight. I mean, I think that was the most fun fight to watch all night. It was crazy how, fighting in Derek Lewis's hometown, that there was a lot of Tuivasa fans there. He's a fan favorite, man. People love him. It's gonna be very interesting to see where Dana puts him next.
He's gonna make a lot of money.
He is.
They're gonna put him against Cyril Gane.
Interim belt. I feel it.
I mean,
Dana loves doing that.
That's what you have to put him. You have to put him against Cyril Gane at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the next fight. I mean, I don't know who else you would put him against, and it's probably gonna be for the interim belt. I mean, Gane just lost to Gane, and he's on the shelf for at least 9 months, I think.
Yeah, probably a year.
So, and he might never fight again. So, I mean, in theory, they could be fighting for the belt. So,
I was going to say, I feel like Derek Lewis is Like Dana said that Derek Lewis hasn't fallen too far from rankings or anything like that, but I don't know where he goes from here at this point. And then with Tuivasa, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head again. I think his next fight is going to be against Sorogan or Stipe, like one of those two. Like I don't see
I don't know if Stipe
anything
comes
else
back for
happening
that.
there.
I don't think Stipe comes back for that.
At some point, Stipe, I'm sure, wants to fight again. And if there's so much uncertainty with, Francis being just, I don't even know, taking his hiatus with his injury and his whole contract dispute. Plus, if the fight with John Jones isn't happening, Stipe has to fight somebody eventually.
I don't disagree. I mean, or Stipe just retires. I mean, that dude has been through a lot the last 2-3 years with winning fights and then having serious injuries to rehab from and everything else. I mean, I guess. I mean, I think Gane versus Tuivasa. I'm assuming it's going to be for the interim belt. I just don't think Dana's going to go through a whole year with not having any heavyweight championship fights.
I agree with you.
So I think that's going to be the fight. The winner's going to be the interim belt, and then if Ngannou never comes back, then they're just going to be crowned champ. I think maybe then if that happens another year, if Ngannou does walk, I think Stipe maybe comes back then to fight one of them for the actual belt. But I feel like Francis's situations put Stipe in complete limbo as well. I don't think he wants to come back just to fight anybody either. I think he wants a trilogy with Francis.
I don't disagree with you.
That's the fight I want to see. Or to Cottrell's point, I do think you get Stipe back for John Jones, just because I think the payday, I don't think he'd be able to walk away from that payday. He's going to make a lot of money on that fight.
I can't wait to get into more UFC because the next big card is my guy.
It's already heating up, bro.
I love it.
He said he wants to put the dude in critical condition tonight.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
There was one more announcement that just got put out there. So you guys know I love Islam Makhachev. His fight against Beneil Dariush just got canceled because Dariush just withdrew with injury.
Of course he did.
But if you guys were watching the card, Bobby Green, the guy who was he let off the card, he just took the fight on short notice. So he just fought this past Saturday. Now he's fighting again in 10 days against Makhachev. So it's gonna be fireworks.
See, that's it's funny. For someone like Makhachev, which I think still wins the fight, I think that's such a disadvantage for him because I feel like he's such a preparer, like a preparation fighter. But, long story short, I can't wait for Colby Masvidal.
When is that?
March something.
March 5th, I think.
So that's 2 weeks.
Can't wait, bro.
That's 2 weeks.
I can't wait.
There's going to be some that weigh-in
press conference.
I would say that weigh-in and press conference has Conor Nate potential.
I think it's way better than that. I think they actually fight at the press conference. I just don't want something to get hurt and then like the fight is like that. That fight I'm so looking forward to. It might be I got butterflies right now. I'm not kidding with you. Like I am looking forward to Masvidal Covington so much.
The crazy part is like I didn't really know a lot of the backstory on that, and I actually read some of it today. Covington's kind of a scumbag.
Oh yeah.
Like and I'm not talking about like the persona like Trump thing. Like the reason they're not friends anymore. Like he's a douche.
Tell the listeners.
Well, I mean, he made an agreement with Masvidal at the time. Masvidal striking coach to prepare him for a fight. Got him prepared, won the fight. Didn't pay him. There was a bunch of other things where like he went and trained with John Jones. John Jones brought Colby in, threw him some money, was a training partner. He got all the experience of working Jones, whatever, and went back to camp and just like badmouth John Jones. And like it was pretty much just became a pattern of behavior. And then like Masvidal was talking to John Jones one day, actually, ironically, and Colby came up, and John Jones. This is kind of ironic coming from John Jones, but he was like, he's not a good dude. Like he's like he'll talk to you, and the minute you walk away, he's like he'll talk shit on you. And that's apparently the pattern of behavior. He's done it with John Jones. There was another big fighter in the article, and I can't remember who it was. It was on ESPN today, actually. And he did the same thing. And Masvidal just said, he's like, I'm sitting back at camp. He's like, and every time like he goes out and gets these like awesome experiences, gets gets paid to train with these like top end guys. He's learning and he's like, and he comes back, and as soon as he comes back, he just talks shit on everybody. He's like, what's he saying about me? Like, and then it just deteriorated from there. Now they just absolutely hate each other.
Yeah, and I love Game Bread, and I think that he took the loss to the Usman very well. He's like, hey, caught me, knocked me out.
The decapitation.
But like, I love a fighter that can just be like, yeah, I got beat. I got my ass beat. Like, that's what it is. I didn't see it coming, and he got me. Like, I'm just such a fan of Jorge. Like, you're not going to win every fight. Like,
no, I agree. And I mean, again, and there's a way to handle a loss and there's not a way. Like, there's guys that sometimes make like kind of excuses or like, oh, this or this. Yeah, like, listen, if you fight for, especially him, like he's been fighting for like his entire life. Like, you get in that many fights, you're going to get caught. Like, I don't care who you are, man. Like, you can be as good as you want to be and good as you think you are.
My prayer for that Covington Masvidal fight is Covington doesn't wrestle him, that he fights him. Like, and I think that the press conferences and the anger, I think the more that I think it's very, I actually think that what Masvidal is doing right now is very premeditated, very intelligent. Like, I know they don't like each other, but you have to make him angry to try to fight you. You want that to be a fight, not a wrestling match. Covington's wrestling is elite, and he could easily hold down Masvidal if he gets him on the ground.
My only issue with that is Colby is very good at getting under people's skin, and Masvidal is an emotional guy, an emotional fighter. He's got to keep that in check, because I think if Colby gets up there and starts getting into his shtick and keeps, like, I think that can almost get Jorge like to overextend himself. And I think if that happens, then I think he's in trouble.
I completely agree with you. Listen, we got 20 minutes left. Yeah. We got to get into Ben Simmons, James Harden.
Yeah, start screaming.
Guys, yeah. Well, I'm going to try to do this I'm going to try to do this as I don't know how to. I'm going to try to do this as civil as I can. It's very tough.
Let's just go.
Ooh. All right, so James Harden is traded for Ben Simmons.
What'd you say?
I wanted, we talked about what the trade would be like, and, Ben Simmons got traded. I was spot on. My faith in Daryl Morey was correct. There's a report coming out today. I'll talk about that in a second, where Daryl Morey, the reason that James Harden didn't opt in, like a lot of owners are very, very upset about this, that Daryl Morey has deals in place to move Tobias Harris in the offseason. James Harden is going to sign for less money, and they're going to bring a third star to Philadelphia in the offseason. And a lot of owners are very, very upset about this. But let's not skip past Ben Simmons for James Harden. Now, both of them had their press conferences on Monday. They both spoke. I think that James came out of those press conferences way, way better than Ben did. I have very strong feelings about Ben Simmons and everything that led up to this situation. I will make no, listen, I think mental health is a serious, serious issue. And I don't want to say that Ben Simmons doesn't have mental health issues. But I think there's a big difference, and I think Shaquille O'Neal said this perfectly, between mental health and mental fortitude. And I think that what he lacks is mental fortitude. I think that Ben talked himself into a corner in his press conference. I'll say that, just like I said earlier when we were talking on the call. I think that Ben Simmons' mental health issues didn't lead to him not playing all year. I think a lot of it is just fabricated for him to get paid, for him to try to get paid this year, and an argument that he's in with the NBA. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the trade. I think the Philadelphia 76ers clearly won the trade. I think it's a landslide in a win for the 76ers. And I think that, they kept Maxey, they kept Thibault. I'm very happy with the deal that Morey got done. Your thoughts?
I'm happy with the deal, just strictly out of the necessity of it actually having to get done, and he went out and got the guy that he wanted to get. So everybody wanted Harden, we got Harden, we got rid of Ben, Ben's gone. Time to move forward, start building, so forth and so on. While I agree with you, I think the Sixers won the trade. I think Brooklyn did as well. I'm not, again, all the emotional stuff and what Ben did to this fan base and all that stuff. I don't disagree with you on any of that. I'm not going to discredit what he is as a basketball player. He's going to make Brooklyn better. Brooklyn got better. The Sixers got better. It's one of those situations where everybody's just happy. Like, move on, build your teams, and then we'll get to the playoffs, and hopefully we'll see them, and then we'll see what's what.
I don't think with a healthy James Harden versus a healthy Ben Simmons, I don't think Brooklyn got better. If James was 100% and wanted to be there. The problem is he didn't want to be there. So I agree with you. They got better, just like the Sixers got better because they got rid of a player that didn't want to be here.
Well, he didn't want to be there because they made the decision that once Kevin Durant was back healthy, they weren't running the offense through James anymore. They were the whole ISO ball and everything. They weren't going to run it. They wanted to run the ball. They wanted to do pick and rolls. They wanted to do passing the ball more. Kyrie was on board. Harden apparently wasn't on board. Not what he wanted to do. I think that just added to his frustration there. He wanted to get out, pull the old hammy, trade me, send me to my guy Morey in Philly. They want to get rid of Ben, make it happen. I'm going to sit here till you do. That's where we're at.
I will make a strong defense for James Harden here. I got it. Ready? I got you. Let me get 3 screens, please, so I can see both of these guys' faces when I say this. My defense for James Harden is James Harden was traded to Brooklyn when he wanted to get out of Houston. Let me finish. I promise I have a point to it. Kyrie's already won a championship with LeBron James in Cleveland. He plays half the games because of his vaccination status. He's a part-time player. Kevin Durant's already won a couple championships. He's been hurt the entire year. James Harden got out of a situation in Houston because he wants to win a championship, and he felt like there was just too much running around, just him by himself, and they were relying on him too much. He wanted to go to another situation where they had an opportunity to win a championship. He, in my opinion, did not see the hunger in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant to win a championship in Brooklyn. This is a guy that hasn't won. Do I excuse what he did? Absolutely not. I think he handled himself like a baby. I think that James Harden is almost as mentally weak as Ben Simmons is. With that being said, I can understand him never wanting to be in Brooklyn and always wanting to be in Philadelphia, like he said in the press conference. I think that he's always wanted to play with Daryl. I think he's always wanted to play with Joel. And I think the difference between being in Brooklyn versus being in Philadelphia is he's playing with a group of people that want to win a championship just as bad as he does.
I'm not letting him off the hook that easily. Sorry. I'm not saying what you said doesn't have merit. He's done this twice now. I think we can all agree Kyrie's a space cadet. I mean, we've talked about it numerous times. Like, I mean, we don't need to get into it again. I don't agree with you with Kevin. I mean, you just look at that dude play. Like, you look how he played last year in the playoffs. You're not going to sell me that Kevin Durant doesn't want to win and he's not hungry to win.
I don't think he doesn't want to win, but I think
he's not hungry to win a championship. I'm not buying that either. I'm not. That's a cop out for James if that's what he's saying. That's a total cop out for Harden. He got to another situation where it wasn't going how he wanted it to go. He was unhappy. He wanted to get out. That is my big thing with all of this. I understand everybody's happy Ben's gone. That's fine. You brought in a guy who's did what Ben did for the second time now. Like, let's stop acting like we just traded for, like Ja Morant or something like that, who's like some young kid who has done everything right his whole career. Like, he's now pushed his way out of 2 places where he was unhappy and didn't want to be there.
I agree.
Trades still need to be made. I'm happy Ben is gone. I'm happy James is here. I hope it works out. I will give Morey all the credit in the world for getting the deal done. I am, again, taking the emotion out of it, being unbiased about it. I think both teams won. I think both teams today, even though neither one of them are playing yet, I think both teams today are in better positions than they were 4 days ago or 5 days ago, wherever the hell the trade was. To the Ben stuff, it's very hard to not saying what you said isn't correct. But on the other side of it, there's other reports that are coming out. Like, one of the reasons he went to LSU was he didn't want to go to a quote-unquote blue blood school. He doesn't like the attention. Now, that being said, I'm not going to let him off the hook for that all the way, because if you want to be a professional NBA basketball player, you have to understand what you're getting into. So you don't want to go to Kentucky, you don't want to go to North Carolina, you don't want to go to Duke, you don't want to do all that because you want the spotlight on you. That's fine. But if you're going to get drafted number 1 and go to the pros, spotlight's going to be on you. Do I think you can be not cut out for certain cities? 100%. And I think this is a perfect example of it. He was not going to last here with his fan base. I think he proved that. I think that is completely on Ben Simmons. To Shaq's kind of, like you said, Shaq's quote, I think there's a difference between being mentally weak and just not having the mental capacity or the mental space to be a big-time player in a hard city to play in. I think there's documented stuff with Ben's anxiety in the past. He alluded to it in his press conference that it happened in the middle at the beginning of last season.
Yeah, I know the fake COVID scare.
This wasn't. Well, I mean, listen, there's other stuff. Again, dude, I don't know him. I'm not there to see like what's going on behind the scenes. Like we all see these guys for press conferences and the 2.5 hours are on the court. What they have going on. I mean, I don't know if he's talking about the Kendall breakup. I don't know any of that, dude. Like I don't know what was going on behind the scenes.
Okay, so let me kind of try to address it before you go too far with it. I think that you know, like everything that you say, there could be an equal or greater counterpoint to what you're saying. So, like, let me just give you an example. The LSU thing that you brought up. He didn't want to go to a blue blood school. I could make an argument that a blue blood school didn't really want him because he wanted the offense to revolve around him. He wanted to be the focal point of that offense. And teams like Duke, teams like Kentucky, teams like Kansas, they want to run team basketball.
But he had offers from all of them. So you can't say they don't want him. They offered him.
Okay. My point as far as his anxiety and his mental health, I think that Ben is just a scared, weak-minded basketball player. And I think that there's a lot of people that go through serious mental health issues in life that don't have all the privileges in the world that Ben Simmons has.
Privilege has nothing to do with mental health.
I fully understand that. But the mental health aspect didn't come up until after. He could say whatever he wants to say, that it happened sometime last year. He didn't ask to step away from the team last year. Then he had a fake COVID scare, so he didn't have to play in Game 7. He was trying to get out of it. I think that Ben Simmons is just scared of the basketball, scared of shooting free throws. And at the end of the day, he tried asking for a trade. He didn't talk to Daryl Morey and Joel Embiid when they wanted to talk to him, and Doc Rivers. He blamed it on everything that he could, and then he said that mental health had nothing to do with him wanting to trade. That, to me, when you don't show up for training camp and you're trying to get paid and you're holding out because you're asking for a trade, and then they don't pay you, and there's reports and reports and reports that come out that you're just, you're not getting paid and his money situation is running low, and then you use mental health as a reason, and then to take it a step further, the 76ers are like, all right, fine. Who's your physician? Who are you dealing with? Let me just get the reports to say that you have mental health, to see that you're actually seeing this through, to try to get help with this mental health situation. I think he'll be on the court next week, right after the All-Star break. I think he'll be playing for Brooklyn. And, for all the people that are saying it's a toxic environment for him, Brooklyn's no different than Philadelphia. You're going to go to Brooklyn and hear the same New York fans that you heard in Philadelphia. He just hasn't failed there in the playoffs yet. And he will, because the cowardly lion who doesn't have a heart will fail them again, just like he failed the 76ers. Period.
I think Brooklyn is a lot different than what Philadelphia is.
It's way different than
Brooklyn. If you compare like the Knicks to the Sixers, then I think you would have some more ground to stand on. But in Brooklyn, like they're not known for basketball. I mean, they just got the team there, not that long ago. It's been less than 10 years that the team's even been in Brooklyn. So
they just moved from North New Jersey to Brooklyn. It's not like they're just a new basketball team.
Yeah, but
the fan base
in Brooklyn were probably cheering.
New Jersey
for the
Nets
before.
fans
they
are
weren't
still
cheering for New Jersey.
The New Jersey Nets are still the Brooklyn Nets. They're still the same fans. They didn't just give up on the Nets when they moved from Jersey to Brooklyn.
And they're still second. And they're still second fiddle to the Knicks. Nothing's ever changed. Exactly. They're still the second team in that city.
Correct. I agree with that.
And again, if you went to the Knicks,
New York fans are any less than the. By the way, and another thing I want to bring up before you end control, I'll stop it after this. You signed a $150 million contract a year and 4 months ago. Like, get out of here with that. I don't want to hear that bullshit. You signed a 4-year deal, and then 1 year into the deal, you want to get traded.
Wouldn't that lend credence if something happened then?
What do you mean lend credence to something happening?
So he signed a deal. So if he was happy when he signed the deal, something between that and then obviously the beginning of the year last year, you have the COVID thing. You then had the Kendall thing, and then everything else happened in between. something clearly happened. I'm not saying
Doc Rivers held him accountable.
Listen, we've gone through that part of it, and again,
Brett Brown babied him, and that's why he got fired.
Part of Brett Brown babied everybody. That's why he got fired.
I agree.
So
they hired Doc for accountability.
Yeah,
every conference they said after Doc got hired was accountability. That's why they hired him. And dude,
who's there to hold Doc accountable?
Go back to his scouting report from college. I agree with you. I won't get into Doc Rivers. I agree with you. But go back to his scouting report from LSU. That guy nailed it perfectly. Selfish player. Needs the offense to revolve around him. Like, disinterested. Charles Barkley said this the year he got drafted. Doesn't love basketball.
I think he loves basketball. I think he wants to play it on his terms. And I don't disagree with you on that part at all. But we knew that when we drafted him. So my whole thing is, and if you want to go back to scouting reports, you go back to the medical reports and everything, he had documented anxiety issues at LSU. So if you're believing one thing, you're believing the other. They're coming from the same people. Again, I'm not excusing all his behavior. I'm not excusing the way he went about it. I'm not excusing any of that. I'm just saying to sit here and flatly say that guy doesn't have mental health issues is just wrong.
I'm not saying he doesn't have mental health. I think everybody in the world has some sort of mental health issues. I think everybody goes through their own journey, their own issues. I just believe this guy used that as an excuse to get out of Philadelphia and not show up and play. Period. I don't think the mental health issues were the reason he wasn't playing. Control. Good.
I'm not gonna get into like too much of the speculation why he wasn't playing anything like that, because I feel like I've been on record enough that I was with him up until the Sixers tried to mend the bridge and they wanted him to come back. But he wanted out of Philadelphia, and that it is what it is at this point. The thing that I kind of want to touch on a little bit, James Harden, I feel like he was in the exact same boat. Whether you're sitting out for mental health or you're sitting out because of a phantom hamstring injury, to me, it's all the same thing. If you're saying that Ben doesn't have mental health issues, or you're saying that's not the reason why he's sitting out games. If you're looking for excuses not to play basketball and to get traded to another team, then to me that all lays in the same boat for me. I don't think at this point, I don't think Ben did it any worse than what James did. I don't think James did any worse than what Ben did. I'm completely of the mindset that at this point it's very equal. You say what you want to about James playing the beginning of the season and trying to make it there. We saw the same thing in Houston. He saw it wasn't working. He just sat on the bench until he got traded, and then he got to Brooklyn and he was perfectly fine. So that was kind of what I want to touch on with just the differences or the similarities, I guess, between those two. As for the trade, I would say that both teams won the trade because both teams definitely got better from it. The part that we keep leaving out is that the Nets also got 2 first-round picks, Seth Curry and Andre Drummond. I think those are guys that are going to help that team play better basketball. They were a team that was struggling. They couldn't win games. Seth Curry, Andre Drummond get there, and they've already, broken that losing streak. So, and they still got Kevin Durant on the way. They still got Ben Simmons on the way. So I think both teams won, but I would say the Nets just got a little bit better just because they also got 2 other pieces that they could use and that are going to be big parts for them down the stretch, and they got 2 first-round picks from it as well.
First rounders don't mean anything. He's going to get 28th, 29th, 30th pick this next year in 2022.
If you hit, you hit.
It's a 28th pick in the NBA. It doesn't matter.
That's fine.
The 2027 first round pick is protected, and if it falls to 2028, then it's unprotected second round pick. Let's just be clear about that. So they're getting picks in the 20s.
You could say first round picks don't matter, but if you hit on those picks, they absolutely matter.
Lottery picks matter. First round picks don't matter.
Brooklyn has a gem right now on their bench from a late pick last year with Cam Thomas from LSU.
People hit on those picks all the time
in the country.
People hit on those picks all the time. I agree with you, but that the pick itself doesn't matter.
Like it doesn't matter.
But it's not as valuable. It's like a 4th round pick in the NFL. It's not as valuable as a lottery pick in the NBA is 2 rounds, and if you break it down, the top 5, then you got the lottery, then you have the end of the first round, and then you have your second rounders, which are your 6th and 7th rounders.
Understood. But if you get a guy like, let's say, Kyle Kuzma, who was a late first round pick, to go on that Brooklyn Nets team, and they already got 2.5 stars already there, like that's going to be a valuable piece for them. Like there's definitely still talent there at the end of the first round.
That's fine, and I think there's talent there, and I think that you basically you got Seth Curry on a fleece deal for Josh Richardson, and you got Andre Drummond on a 1-year, $5 million deal to be a backup center. I think Daryl Morey comes out smelling like roses, and you're going to get Harden to extend here, and you're going to get a third star in here after they trade Tobias Harris this offseason. Book it down. It's going to happen. Just final thoughts on Ben Simmons. I'm glad he's out of here, and I can't wait till he fails in the playoffs so I can consistently I want to watch that kid fail every single time he shoots the basketball. I'm sick in the head.
I don't, like I said, I think both teams got better. I mean, it's going to be very interesting if they play each other in the playoffs. I mean, I'd be very curious to see what happens. We'll see. I mean, I think there's a lot of complicated stuff that we didn't even get into, stuff that we probably don't even know about still. I don't know. Like even the thing about coming out to see him, like he said he talked to Doc. He said he talked to Maury. He said he never talked to JoJo. JoJo said he called him. I don't know who's lying there.
JoJo said he called him and didn't answer.
Well, JoJo said he talked to him too. I'm just saying, dude. Like, it's just little things. Again, JoJo could be telling the truth. Ben could be lying. I don't know. I'm not saying Ben's telling the truth. I'm just saying there's little things. They asked him the question about, taking the heat for everything. And, what would you say about this? He goes, I don't trash teammates publicly. Like, that was a shot at JoJo. And again, I don't think JoJo was wrong in that. So, but I'm just saying, it's different strokes for different folks, man. I mean, and being a head coach and being a general manager, like you can't treat every player the same. Like, players have different personalities. And Maury even alluded to that in the one interview he gave. He said, I didn't do enough to gain his trust and build a relationship when I got here with him. He's like, I counted him as one of the guys we were building around, and he's like, and I just didn't really reach out and get to know him. He's like, and he took full accountability for that. He said that, and that's on me. He's like, that's something I need to learn and grow from as a general manager.
That's a great comment to make. Great comment to make. I don't believe it. I think it's very, very disingenuous, but I get it.
I mean, you just praised the guy for 5 minutes, and now his comment was disingenuous.
I think that's a very good comment to other free agents and other people that are headed to Philadelphia. I think it's a sales pitch.
Or maybe it's just a really good GM.
Just call him. Did you call Maury a really good GM?
He's a good GM.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Maybe you
I'm
could
fulfilled.
Maybe it's him just admitting that he did something wrong, admitting that he's taking ownership for his part in this goddamn debacle that we just went through.
Okay. Guys, we're running up against it. What I want from you guys right now is I want your Final Four picks for the NCAA, and then we'll get more into college basketball next week. I just want your Final Four so we can get it on record. Cottrell, I'll start with you.
Switching it up on you guys from last night.
That's fine.
I got Kentucky,
okay,
Gonzaga, UCLA, and Duke.
You got a UCLA. I like that.
You switched.
Give me your 4.
I'm going with Auburn, Purdue, Gonzaga, Kansas.
I think I love that you added Purdue. I like Gonzaga, Purdue. They're my 2 teams I really think that will make it out. And I love Baylor and Duke.
I think it's interesting.
Pablo Banchero, bro. I think he's going to have a hell of a tournament.
They're the team that just scares me. If they don't shoot well, or God forbid somebody gets in foul trouble, they're sunk.
I get it.
They play like 7
Gene,
guys.
I like that you added Baylor, Gene. I was talking about them last night. I replaced UCLA with them, and then Arizona was just the other one that was right there on the brink for me. But
Arizona's the same spot for me. Kentucky's
my 5, so I'm going to be honest. Even though they lost last night, I love Kentucky.
Yeah, they went to Tennessee. I mean,
we said that on the call.
Yeah,
we said that on the call.
It's not an easy place to go play.
Okay, so let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. And I know you want to give your NASCAR picks, so you can give those right at the end when we do final thoughts.
That's fine. I got something else for that too, so I'll give them quick.
All right. So, Cottrell, you want to start with You Gotta Be Kidding Me?
Yeah, mine's relatively quick. We touched on it already. Mine is the IOC just changing their mind about the suspension of the Russian figure skater. So for that, I'm not going to get too much too much more in depth. We already kind of went over it. For that, the IOC.
He hit the buzzer.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
All right, Shally.
I'm going with Kyler Murray.
Good.
I don't know. Kyler Murray needs I think somebody needs to sit him down and have a little chat with him and get his ego in check. He scrubbed all the references of the Cardinals from his Instagram and his social media. Everybody was, pondering and, trying to figure out what was going on. The Cardinals kind of, to their defense, said, we haven't heard anything from him or his camp. Like, we don't know what's going on. He then comes out after starting all this, this whole damn debacle with people speculating and everything. He then comes out and makes a statement yesterday saying, "I'm not about this. I'm not about nonsense and drama and blah blah blah." Well, you caused it all, bro. You haven't communicated with anybody in the organization. And I'll break it down for you one step further. Your ego needs to go away. To Gene's point earlier, some humbling needs to be going on with Kyler Murray. You haven't won shit, dude. You haven't won a damn thing yet in the NFL. And you're walking around like you're Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. You pissed away another good season this year. I think you're closer to being traded or something like that than being the superstar you think you are in your own head. I think you need to calm down a little bit. I think you need to talk to your agent. I think you need to talk to the organization. I think you need to become a better leader. Starting to hear some disturbing reports coming out of the locker room from certain people saying he doesn't take blame for anything, points the finger a lot. One of his things was he said he felt like he's a scapegoat. I'm not buying all that. I think Kyler just needs to grow up a tad. I think he needs to have a really good, concentrated offseason, getting back to being the talent that we all think he is. So for me this week, it's Kyler Murray.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
I have, before you play the video, I just want to preface this. I feel like it's very shoddy reporting when ESPN constantly, every time there's something that happens around Philadelphia, they bring up every single thing. The J.D. Drew, the snowballs at Santa Claus, the cheering Michael Irvin from 40, 50, and 60 years ago, 20 years ago with Michael Irvin. Ben Simmons was recently traded, and a couple ESPN personalities, one being Ramona Shelburne, wrote a report that he needed to get out of a toxic situation with Philadelphia fans in Philadelphia. So ESPN had 3 different columns written about Philadelphia toxicity and Ben Simmons. So since ESPN cares so much about Ben Simmons' mental health, let me just play a quick skit from the ESPYs. Roll it. I don't hear volume on this. Okay, 1 second. We're going to roll it in a second. But this is a quick skit from the ESPYs here. Yeah, you got to start over.
Ben Simmons took home a special ESPY for his humanitarian work. Yes. Not everyone knows this, but Ben Simmons has been building orphanages like this one completely out of his playoff bricks. What do you like to say, little ladies? Simmons took home.
So I just, it's pretty alarming to me that Philadelphia is the toxic city that makes, Ben Simmons upset or his mental health, when the entire country, including ESPN, was bashing him for, and rightfully so, for his performance in the playoffs. So for that reason, Ramona Shelburne, Dan Lebitard, ESPN.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Segue to Shally.
Who you got real quick? Hurry up. Just give me a winner.
I'm going to go with the pole sitter, Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson on the pole. Thanks for ruining it. I was going to watch when I get home. Ass. All right. I'll get through these real quick. I'm going with William Byron as the winner. I think another Hendrick car, but they're going to be fast. William Byron's my winner, plus 1,700.
Explain the event.
Daytona 500, bro. Don't be a casual.
No, but just for everyone.
All my racing followers know what we're talking about.
Everyone listen.
Daytona 500 this Sunday, 3:30. I got William Byron plus 1,700. To land in the top 3, you can still get good money on these guys. Chase Elliott plus 260, Kurt Busch plus 410, Ryan Blaney plus 300. I think they all have a shot. They're all good restrictor plate pack racers. If they avoid the big one, I think they have a chance to land there. So if you're building parlays or anything like that, I think they're all really good picks. And to close this week, I just want to give a shout out to my guy, Dave Cunningham. Met him a couple years ago. Really good dude. He's one of those guys that every time you see him, he's just one of those guys that's always smiling. He's always happy. And unfortunately, his dad passed away beginning of this week. So I just wanted to send my condolences to Dave and his entire family, all his friends. Got the pleasure of meeting his dad once. Was a really, really nice guy, funny guy. Met him at Penryn once. So just wanted to let you know, bud, we're thinking about you and send my condolences to you and the family. So they're in my prayers, bud.
That hits especially home. Dave, I can't imagine what you're going through because it's a really tough time. So if you need anything, reach out to any of us. I think a couple of us have experience. But Cottrell, any final thoughts?
Just real quick, NBA All-Star Weekend is happening. 3-point contest. I like CJ McCollum. One contest going on. I like Jalen Green. And then I think Team LeBron wins this year. I think he drafted a better team than Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's got to figure out his drafting method because past 2 years, I think he's folded.
He's drafting people that he likes instead of the better players.
He just didn't want to take James.
Outside of Harden.
I agree with you. I think CJ wins the 3-point. I got Obi Toppin winning the dunk contest. I think he's still in it.
Yes, he is.
And I agree. I think Team LeBron wins as well.
I'll go with Team Durant.
Okay.
I'm going with Joey Logano.
Good pick.
Yeah, no 22 car. It's going
pick.
Joey Logano.
The yellow Pennzoil machine.
And I'll post my 3-point winner and my dunk contest winner. I think Obi Toppin's going to win, but let me just do a little bit more research. I don't want to rush. I want to give you guys real picks, and I'll post it on the Wire to Wire Facebook page. But that's our show. That's show 71.
Who's 71? Anybody?
I don't know. Offensive lineman.
We got to do a new bracket, bro.
I'm down. We're doing a new bracket. We just had a lot to get into the show, obviously. But
we should do best sports movie ever.
Show 71. We are signing out.